Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. We are back at Giro d'Italia, Stage 8. Now, this is going to be a marvelous stage because it's a circuit. Personally, I always loved the circuit races. You knew exactly where you had to be, when you had to be there, and you knew what place in the peloton at that corner before the start of the climb, before the descent, before the finish line. You always knew what place you needed to be in the peloton if you were going to survive the stage or try to win the stage. Now, when you look at this stage at 152 kilometers, it's a short stage, right? You guys sitting at home on the couch like, Chris, that's almost 100 miles. This is a short stage at the professional peloton, and I love when you're watching 130 and 150K stages because anything between 80 and 100 miles means that just about every pro at this level can go full gas all the way to the line. So you know all hell is going to break loose as soon as they reach kilometer zero. Now, to top it off, I have not seen a course set up like this in a long time, if ever. World Championship courses are often like this, where you'll go point to point and then do a circuit, possibly finish on the circuit or leave and come back. Today, they're going to start in Naples, and then they're going to go out. They're going to do a circuit that's just under 20 kilometers long, do 4 laps with one climb in there that has 2 kilometers at about 6% with pitches at 11%. There's another bump, though, on the course that some of the riders are going to have to pay attention to, like sprinters that want to avoid time cut here on today's Stage 8. Now, before the racing even begins, we're going to see the riders warming up on the trainers. I always giggle when I see this because that means as soon as the racing starts, everyone knows it's going to be intense from kilometer zero. And this stage of the Giro d'Italia is not going to have a long neutral section where the riders could really get their legs kind of loosened up. A lot of times you can have 2 kilometers to even 10 kilometers neutral sections at these Grand Tours to get yourself out of the city. Here they have a very, very short neutral section, so everybody's on the rollers trying to get their legs warmed up. Now, with 150 meters to go at the start here of the Stage 8, it's going to be Max Marchese, UAE Team Emirates. He's going to have a bike issue back there. And luckily for him, they're going to stop at the kilometer zero. And the race organizer there, he's going to put his hand out and hold everybody up for Marchese back there for UAE Team Emirates. At first, when I saw him pull over hard right and look up at the field, you could just see his eyes light up like, oh my goodness, I'm going to be off the back at kilometer zero because you know the tacking's going to be fast. While they hold up the field, you're going to see everyone there curb to curb. Some guys even got their feet still clipped into the pedals because they know it's going to be fast right from the start. And when the kilometer zero finally kicks off and they blow the whistle, wave the flag as the riders take off, right away you see the tacks. It's a group of 6 or 7 guys getting up. And they're off away from the peloton. The peloton's going curb to curb back there. And I'm sitting on the couch. I'm thinking, wow, you got to be kidding me. There is no way that they're going to let a break go right from the kilometer zero and right away on this marvelous stage here that the race organizers at the Giro have set up for us to enjoy viewing. And just a few hundred meters later, there you go. Here comes the next attack. It's Team Astana and Quick-Step throwing in the attacks. Now with small teams up in that first original 6 and 7 man group up there. But now with these 2 big teams like Astana and certainly like Quick-Step going up the road, things get fast and hot right away as we start climbing straight out of Naples. It's going to be Mathieu van der Poel throwing in a massive attack, trying to go across to the front group. He'll make it up there quickly, and then it's just groups all over the place here, and we are not even 5 kilometers into Stage 8 of the Giro. Over the top, once the groups start coming back together, you're going to see Mathieu van der Poel and Lotto. Lotto is well represented. They're on the front trying to pull this train hard to get this split away from the peloton back there. Mathieu van der Poel's doing massive digs on the front. And then finally, he's had enough. He's going solo. He is going solo early here at the Giro d'Italia. We're only 5-6 kilometers into it. Mathieu van der Poel is bombing down the descents, powering on the pedals. Behind, Lotto Soudal got it all wrapped up, though, because they got not just 1 rider in this break of 20. Behind, not just 2, but they have 3 riders back there from Lotto Soudal. With the legendary rider, Thomas de Hit, whose feelings must have gotten hurt here on the Butterfly Effect yesterday when I said he was getting a little bit slower and then got caught early in yesterday's Stage 7. Now he's up in the front, well represented, like I said, with Harm van Hoeke there and Sylvain Monique. Now with those 3 riders up there, you know Lotto's represented well. So they'll bring back Mathieu van der Poel. He does about 8 kilometers solo up there early here at this Stage 8. Now, when you want to look at this group of 21 riders up the road at this point in time, if you're a director in the car, the main thing you look at, there's certain things that definitely highlight that stand out like a sore thumb. Mathieu van der Poel is there. Beniam Girmay is there. Remember, the Eritrean is fighting for the points jersey here at the Giro d'Italia, and he was second on the general classification. That means if this group of 21 can make it to the finish, he can gain some maximum points against Arnaud Démare. Behind that, when you look at the other picture here in the group of 21, it's got to be the teams with multiple numbers. Astana have multiple numbers. Bahrain Victorious have multiple numbers in there of 2 riders. Iolo Cometa have 2 riders in there. And AG2R got 2 riders in the front group. That is a lot of teams with multiple numbers, and especially with Lotto. Lotto want this to roll all the way, and we all know Thomas de Gent, who I says the shine was coming off of a little bit yesterday on the butterfly effect. Lotto are looking fabulous, though, today with those 3 numbers. So that all stands out. Now, one other thing I want to point out that stands out, it's the Trek-Segafredo rider up there, Skilmos. Now, Skilmos is a solid rider, but remember, yesterday they tried to go for the stage win and split the team up heavily, going with Bach Mollema up the road, who ended up finishing in the top 5 of yesterday's stage. And then when you look at the riding for the pink jersey and Giacone for GC, that's going to start in tomorrow's stage 9 here when they go up Blockhouse. So with Skilmos up there, again, it's going to start weakening Trek-Segafredo. Now in that group of 21, of course, Skilmos isn't going to work. But when you're a director in the car, again, you look at the next 20 riders in there and you start doing the math. All these teams will work well together, and that's what this group of 20 does, because the 21st guy, Skilmos, he's not going to do much work up there in the front until the very end, strangely enough. Now, when that group of 21's rolling well together, they get about a 2-minute gap on the Trek-Segafredo train back there riding the front. Trek-Segafredo setting a good job, and then things start to get nervous once we start getting under 100K to go, and we start seeing Bahrain Victorious and Bora Hansgrohe start coming to the front, and then every time you go back to the peloton, it's curb to curb back there, so you know the stress level's high on this World Championship-like course here at the Giro Stage 8. Up front, when we start seeing the real action come into play, it's going to be 46 kilometers to go, and who's going to start the action? We all know it's Mathieu van der Poel throwing in the big acceleration. Beniam Girmay, the Eritrean, is following the wheel as quickly as he possibly can. Guillaume Martin's back there throwing in every bit of effort to try to close the gap up to Mathieu van der Poel. That group will quickly become about 6-7 guys up front, and then they'll get reeled in from the other groups, from the breakaway riders behind. Now, when they do, it's going to be Davide Gaburo, the Bardiani rider, that throws in the next big attack, just as they were bringing back the Mathieu van der Poel group. When he does, the 2 Lotto Soudal riders, you know who it is. It's Thomas de Gent and Harm van Hoeke. Those riders throw hard on the acceleration to follow the Bardiani rider, and then we end up with a group of 5 up front with Gaburo, Thomas de Gent, Harm van Hoeke, Arceus, and Simone Ravanelli from Drone Harper. Drone Harper, one of the small teams up there, and Bardiani from Gaburo. 2 small Italian teams here represented when we're talking about coming down to the end here at stage 8. Now, they still got about 40 kilometers left to go at this race. The gap is about 15 seconds back there to the other group of about 15 riders left back there. They're still working well together, though, and holding the front leaders to at least a legitimate close distance. Where I'm sitting on the couch, I'm thinking Mathieu van der Poel can close this gap just about any moment he wants. But remember, Mathieu van der Poel's been busy throughout today. He was 8 kilometers solo at the beginning of today's stage. He's never left the front throughout today's stage, always doing pulls in that group of 21 when other guys were taking a little bit easier back there. Remember, it was Mathieu van der Poel who threw in the first attack that started all these attacks with 46 kilometers to go. Now up front, that group of 5, they're working well together. When they start leaving the circuit, though, and they go up the next climb, we're going to see Ravanelli start to fall off the pace. Just under 35 kilometers to go, Mathieu van der Poel will start pulling in the front, and he will reduce that group down to just about 9-10 riders. Now that group will fluctuate in numbers between about 8 and 11 riders. But at this point in time, Trek-Segafredo are in panic mode because Guillaume Martin, who started today's stage at just a little more than 4 minutes down on the general classification, now he's only about 25 seconds. He's sitting second here on the virtual GC. So Trek-Segafredo are panicking back there and in full flight mode, doing everything they can to try to keep the pink jersey here at stage 8 of Giro. Now up front with that time gap, you got to remember there's 4 or 5 guys up the road pulling 100%. And of course, Thomas de Hint, Harm van Honke are doing major pulls at the front every time the cameras show them. They're on the front doing everything they can to hold off the Mathieu van der Poel group behind. When that group behind split and Mathieu van der Poel drove it up the climb, broke it down to small numbers, now all of a sudden I want to point something out to you guys. It's Skilmos. It's the Trek-Segafredo rider that's pulling through. Now, this is a bit of a dilemma, right? You got Trek-Segafredo pulling like a monster back there with tired guys, because remember, it was Bach Mollema racing hard for the stage win yesterday and all their teammates pulling back there to defend the pink jersey on yesterday's stage 8. Now they're going full gas here, pulling a Mathieu van der Poel-led group of 8 to 11 riders up there with still the favorites up front with Lotto Soudal pulling 100%. So you know everybody in the Mathieu van der Poel group has to pull 100%, and they're pulling against 2, 3 Trek-Segafredo guys whose legs have to be getting tired at this point in the Giro. When we hit the penultimate climb, the group up front now, they're going to start this climb with still about 40 second gap up there. When the favorites behind the Mathieu van der Poel, Biniam, Girmay, who had to be the favorites here starting stage 8, when they hit this climb, the attacks are going to start. Schmid with just a sizable gap on Mathieu van der Poel, Biniam, Girmay. Wout Poels, who's struggling. Guillaume Martin's got the wheel though, and then behind Skilmos is coming off Trek-Segafredo. So remember, they put him in the early attack. He's had to sit on the back the whole ride. Then he had to make the selections when the attack started at 46 kilometers to go. Then he started working in the small reduced group to try to bring back the group of 5 that was up the road. Now he's getting dropped, and he broke one important rule. You don't let the guy that's second on general classification while you're holding the pink race leader's jersey and your teammate back there is pulling 100%. Skilmos, who had actually ridden with Martin before this climb started, now he's lost the wheel. Guillaume Martin is bridging up to Mario Schmid up the road now. Now that group, when they crest this climb, it's going to be 5 guys. It's Mathieu van der Poel, Biniam, Girmay, Wout Poels, who did a great job bridging, Guillaume Martin, who's still sitting high up on the general classification at this moment, and Mario Schmid, who started all the attacks going up this penultimate climb here on stage 8. Now down the descent, you're going to see Mathieu van der Poel. He's flying down the descent. It's causing chaos back there in that group of 5. Up front, that group of 4, that time gap got reduced a little bit, went from 40 seconds down to just about 30 seconds, but we still just have over 20 kilometers to go. So there's still a chance to bring back the favorites up front for Mathieu van der Poel and Biniam Girmay to try to get his first Giro d'Italia stage win. Now, as we come into the last climb, 9.8 kilometers to go. The riders up front, they know they got to go 100%. When you look at Lotto Soudal, you don't want to start any attacking games right now. You got fabulous numbers with 2 out of 4. Jorge Arkea up there from Movistar, and then a flying Davide Gaburo, who's looking solid here with 4 guys up front, and they still got a gap on the Mathieu van der Poel group behind. When they start this climb, this is the last real effort here that Mathieu van der Poel can put in if he wants to close this gap up to the leaders up front. Now we see Mathieu van der Poel doesn't have the explosion left in his legs to be able to close the gap. They'll crest the top with still a 15-16 second gap to the 4 leaders up front. Now on the next descent, you're going to see Mathieu van der Poel go to work, and man, does he go to work. It is Guillaume Martin, the Cofidis rider. He can't hold the wheel. He's opening up the gap there. We've seen him many times throughout the Grand Tours lose GC general classification placings all the time because he can't go downhill. Now he's losing a shot at winning Giro d'Italia as he opens the gap up to the Eritrean Biniam Girmay and Mathieu van der Poel up front. When they come out of the last hard left turn onto the flat road, the last 6 kilometers kilometers to go. They got the race leaders in sight with about 3 kilometers to go. Behind the 3 left over, Schmid, who jumped 2 of the riders, now is Wout Poels back there, and Guillaume Martin doing everything he can to try to close this gap after he opened it up on the descent. Mario Schmid stuck in the middle there, and then in front he's got Girmay and Mathieu van der Poel, who are about 8-9 seconds away from the front leaders of 4, coming under 2 kilometers to go. This will be the last time Jorge Arquez takes a pull on the front. He'll adjust his shoes, get ready for the sprint to start. 1.6 kilometers to go. Thomas de Gent has had enough. He's going to have his teammate Harm van Hoeke get on the front. When we go into the final turn, it's a U-turn bend that comes around back on itself. When they exit with about 700 meters to go, it's 4 in front. You'll see the favorites behind the 2 sprinters left here. And stage 8, it's Girmay, Mathieu van der Poel. They still got a shot. Schmid, the quick-step riders, found his way back up to the 2 sprinters in front with 400 meters to go, where Thomas de Gent takes a look right side over his shoulder. He looks back. He knows they're coming, but he can't jump yet because it's still 400 meters to go. Harm van Hoeke is digging deep for his Lotto Soudal teammate. He gets him all the way to about 200 meters to go. Thomas de Gent starts a massive acceleration on the pedals. Jorge Arquez, Movistar, jumps from the back, but he's a little behind. It's Davide Burrow, the Bardiani rider. He jumps. He's starting to close the gap up to Thomas de Gent, but he can't because Thomas de Gent is too strong. He pushes hard on the pedals, comes through, and wins stage 8 for Lotto Soudal. Now, this has got to be one of the highlight wins here in the first week of Giro d'Italia. Lotto Soudal. Thomas de Gent is back, the breakaway specialist. Maybe he heard me complaining about him losing a little bit of shine on yesterday's butterfly effect, but he brought it all back today for a fantastic victory here for Lotto Soudal. One thing I like to point out is Sherry Perdem here in the photo. She is the Lotto Soudal director, and they interviewed her after the race. She was incredibly excited for Thomas de Gent's win here at stage 8. And for cycling, it was a big win for all of us to have a female director sportif in the car calling the shots here to win stage 8. Congratulations, Sherry. Welcome to the big time racing, and congratulations on your stage 8 win with Thomas de Gent. Now, when we look at some of the other things happening here in today's stage 8, there was a big attack with 8 kilometers to go from Leonard Kamna trying to get away from the race leader, Juan Lopez. It wasn't going to happen though, because Lopez was all over that move. Couple other things to point out. Girmay, who finished 5th on today's stage, gained maximum points for the point sprint competition here at Giro d'Italia. That's going to be a big help. That is how Girmay needs to race throughout any of these mountainous, semi-bumpy stages here. He's got to get up the road, get away from Arnaud Démare, and gain maximum points like he did here on today's stage 8. Now, other GC favorites, Guillaume Martin was the really only change in the top 10. He was in the break all day long. He was threatening the pink jersey at one point in time, only about 25 seconds back on the general classification for the virtual lead. He finishes today's stage in the top 10, but loses 30 seconds to stage winner Thomas de Gent. Now, the field came in about 3 minutes and a half, so that puts Guillaume Martin up 3 minutes on the general classification, and will move him into the top 5, 1 minute, 10 seconds behind the pink jersey wearer Juan Lopez. Was a great day of racing, but this is what I'm talking about when you're looking at Trek-Segafredo and you see the antics yesterday of trying to win stage 7. Now you see where they're trying to win today here at stage 8, and there's points and times where Skillboss is pulling in the front and their team's pulling in the back with tired riders. It's a big order to divide the team up in so many different directions. Wait till tomorrow's stage to see if Trek-Segafredo can help Juan Lopez keep the pink jersey here, or if they'll race for Ciccone. Tomorrow's stage 9 is going to be an exciting stage. It's going to start hard and it's going to finish even harder with the summit finish up Blockhouse. We're going to see big battles on the general classification, and we're going to get to see whether or not if Trek-Segafredo has spread their team too thin over these last 2 stages here at the Giro. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next edition of the Butterfly Effect.